There's a presentation?
There's a presentation.
Is there going to be a pop quiz?
There's a school, man. What do you think?
Hey there, I'm Matt, co-founder at Helpt.
And I'm David, co-founder at Helpt.
And this is the Cool Kids Table.
This isn't your typical industry podcast. We sit down with MSPs, vendors, and channel pros to swap stories, share real insights, and have a little fun.
You'll get expert takes along with sports debates and some class clown moments. It's part grade school nostalgia and part real talk about what's going on in business.
No scripts, no sales pitches, just a real lunchroom conversation.
So grab your tray and let's hang out at the Cool Kids Table.
Saw something recently that said organic cucumbers. That's the thing. Like if you're thirsty, if you've got a headache, if you're just not feeling great, go to the fridge, grab a cucumber, slice it up, eat it.
I mean, I guess that's why they put cucumbers in like the spa water and stuff.
I mean,
Well, cucumbers are like 90% water anyways, so pretty much the same thing as a human. 90% water, eat a cucumber, eat a human, it's all the same. Okay, this is where we start a new cucumber conspiracy theory.
I like it. Like it's like brain control or mind control.
You make a little tinfoil hat for your cucumber and...
Matt, are you ready? Mike's going to think that this is what this is about.
Welcome to the Cuke Kids podcast. I'm Matt, one of the founders here at Helpt, with my co-founder and cucumber eater, David.
Hey everyone. Today we have special guest Michael. Michael, I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong, so I'm not even going to say it. Michael Z, co-founder of Blacksmith InfoSec and co-host of Get Nifty.
First of all, there's no way you can mispronounce my last name. You just say everything that's in there and you're good to go. Michael Zbarsky, one of the co-founders of Blacksmith InfoSec. We started Blacksmith InfoSec about 2 years ago and really tried to help SMB executives stand up security programs at their place of business, help them get their policies in place, compliance roadmap, risk register, and everything else. And then we learned very quickly that they know nothing about IT and they all have managed service providers. So really starting talking to the channel and pivoted into the channel almost 2 years ago and working with only MSPs and VSSOs and MSSPs to enable them to talk to their clients about risk and security programs and having those little bit higher level conversations to say, hey, how do we get you compliant? How do we actually engage with the business, understand what the business is doing, and help minimize some of that risk?
I'd say not enough cucumber. Let's do another one. What was your favorite lunch item while you're in school?
You gotta go for the 80s, early 90s French bread pizza. There was no beating that. I recently found a recipe for it online, so I plan on making it for my kids. And it's like a poured dough for it. I didn't know you could pour pizza dough. If you guys want to, I'll share the recipe with you.
Well, I'd rather you just share the pizza with me. Let me try it before you share the recipe. Come on.
Fly on out to DC and I'm happy to do that.
I remember the one that you would get in the box and you'd throw it in the microwave. Like you open it up, but it had like a tin foil on the inside, and then you put that in the microwave.
You don't put foil in the microwave.
Yeah, I was going to say, they taught you in school?
Hold on, it wasn't actual tin foil. It was like, tin foil product.
What David means is it was the American cheese of tinfoil.
Thinking back still in that high school era, what table did you sit at?
I was in the RPG group, so it was lots of D&D. I was a weird kid growing up where I didn't fit into any specific group, but I also was friends with everyone and would float between groups.
Now when you say RPG, back then RPG, are we talking D&D or are we talking Chrono Trigger?
So some D&D, not to date myself, but I know you guys know World of Warcraft, but preceding to World of Warcraft, there were MUDs, which are text-based RPGs. So there was a ton of time spent on text-based RPGs, way more than should have been spent on them.
Till the botters came around and ruined it for everyone else.
Yeah.
All right, so next question. What's in your lunchbox?
We have a couple things here. We'll do a reveal. What's a lunch without your snack pack? Now this, I have a huge problem with. Little Debbie used to have good brownies, and then they got rid of the nut ones and replaced them with these cosmic ones, which are utter BS, and you can't find the nut ones anymore, and that is a huge issue for me.
Other than just chit-chatting, do you have any idea what we're going to do today?
No. I thought this was it. I thought I was dipping cucumbers into snack packs.
No, absolutely not.
Now, this is going to be Jeopardy style or SNL Jeopardy style? Are we going to be like Sean Connery in this?
Yeah, I guess a little more like Sean Connery than than Jennings.
Perfect.
Give us one to start.
Class clown for 100.
What's the funniest way you've seen someone misunderstand compliance? For instance, thinking, I bought firewall, so I'm all good now.
Okay, let me ask a clarifying question really quickly. Is this at the end client or personal company level, or is this at the MSP level?
It's probably funnier if it's an MSP because they're supposed to be a little more tech savvy.
I love MSPs, and some of them are great, and some of them are not as nearly as tech savvy as I would like. So I think the biggest piece of it is MSPs thinking that they can run compliance for a client with no client involvement. Like them thinking that, hey, we can own your security program, we can own your risk, we can just take care of all this for you. And like this is one of the things that Jared and I talk to MSPs about all the time. Like you cannot own the security program, you can't own their risk, just stop. You need to get the client involved. You need to actually go and talk to your client. And one of the things that's been really amusing to me as we've waded into the channel and worked with more and more MSPs is just how many MSPs out there don't want to do that. They just want to fix things. Like they don't want to understand what the client does as a business, what their business processes are, any of that. I think the huge gap in misunderstanding is hey, we can do this for you, not with you.
Do you think that that's, like you said, kind of that hero complex where it's like, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to show this incredible amount of value in fixing this thing for you? Or do you think that it's just like a discomfort in having the conversations that they need to have to be successful?
I think it's the latter. I think it's the discomfort. And I see this, even outside of compliance, right? One of the biggest things that I learned as I was progressing in my career was the whole point of IT is to make a business better, faster, or cheaper. Like that's what IT does. And when IT doesn't understand what the business is doing or trying to do, there's no way to do that.
I think a lot of people go into being MSPs because they were always the guy who could fix a computer problem, and they figure it's going to be just fixing a computer at a scale and not preventing. Building the systems, building the architecture is a lot harder than just see something broken and taping it back together.
Let's do Overachiever 300.
What compliance framework do MSPs make harder than it needs to be, and what's the simplest way to approach it?
Any regulatory framework, you pick it. I don't care if it's HIPAA, if it's CMMC, anything that's regulatory, they never scope properly. And scoping is the main thing you need to do. All of the frameworks care about data. They care about whether it's CUI or PHI or whatever else, and understanding, hey, these are the systems that this is applicable to, and this is what we can do to A, make it easier to do, B, make it less expensive for the client. Scoping is the biggest thing. Understanding where the data is that you care about protecting and making sure the controls are there to protect that data.
What's the, simplest way to approach scoping then?
I'll give you an example. One of our MSP partners supports a lot of commercial real estate clients and construction companies. And so they have this client that generally builds buildings, and that's what 95% of the company does. And 5% of the company builds skiffs. And so they basically said, hey, this 5% of the company is going to be CMMC and the rest of it is not. And anyone that needs to interact with CUI is going to fall into the CMMC category, and we're going to run that security program for this 5%. And we're not going to run it for the other 95%. We're going to run just basic NIST CSF framework for them. And that allowed them to have lower cost tools because they weren't paying for, higher prices for anything that needed to be FedRAMP, etc. for the non-CMMC users. It allowed them to create much cleaner processes to say, hey, this process applies to these 10 users or 5 users or whatever it is, versus, hey, this process applies to 100 or 300 users. Just across the board, scoping and making sure you understand what needs to go. Yep.
Right. Don't look at it like, oh, here's this big cloud of ideas. It's chunk 1, chunk 2, act accordingly.
Let's do Jock for 400.
When a breach happens, what separates teams that recover fast from teams that spiral?
Teams that A, have a plan, B, practice their plan regularly, and C, know who they need to notify. So I've seen a couple different things in my career. So first, have a plan. Like, write it down. The first version of it may not be great, but write down a plan. 2, practice that plan. When you practice it, do a tabletop, do anything, play it out, change who plays what, tell your CEO he's going to play head of HR, and head of HR he's going to play the CEO, because people will think about different things in different ways, and practice it and make it better. And the third one is make sure everything is documented for your breach notification. I've seen too many times where someone has an incident and they go heads down dealing with the technical aspects. They go and notify OCR if it's HIP or whoever else, but they have no clue what's in their contracts or who they need to notify from their contracts. So find all those clauses, pull them into your incident response plan, track them, and make sure that you're ready so you don't find yourself in breach of contract. Let's hit up Overachiever 400.
If a friend who runs an MSP texted you, I want to offer compliance as a service, where do I start? What are the 3 bullet points you'd send back?
It depends on who your end client is at that stage. So if it's a client you're prospecting or a client you want to start working with, start with a risk assessment. Figure out what you're in for, figure out what they have in place or don't have in place. If it's a client where you're currently doing like time material or break fix, risk assessment, because you don't know what their business is doing. If it's a client where you are already providing MSP services, you should know their technical controls from your side. Doing a risk assessment can still be helpful because you don't know all their controls on their side, right? Just because you have MFA turned on for Microsoft doesn't mean they have it turned on for their accounting system or HR system or anything else. So starting with a risk assessment is always good, a little bit less important if it's already a full MSP client where you're providing a bunch of services. And then realistically getting the foundation of the security program in place. So get the policies in place, have them approve it, get into agreement with the client of this is the plan, this is what we want to get to. And you don't have to get there tomorrow or next week or next year, but you know what you're marching towards and you can keep track of it.
I think that was 2 bullet points. I heard risk assessment and alignment. What was the third?
And then track everything, right? It's the track, stay engaged with the business, show progress towards compliance. And one of the biggest things that I always say is you don't need to do everything, but keep track of everything, keep it on the risk register, keep it on the compliance roadmap, and manage the risk. Don't stick your head in the sand and ignore it.
Yeah, do something. All right, probably have time for one more.
Let's do one of the 500s, class clown.
So what's a viral tech or productivity gadget you secretly think is completely useless?
Ooh, I don't use any of this stuff. I'm going to flip this question around, not answer it the way you want me to answer it. The last conference we were at, somebody was there with the Meta glasses. It's kind of cool, but also utterly useless. What would be really cool is if you had the Meta glasses and they were hooked up to 2 things. One is LinkedIn and one is your CRM, where when you saw someone, it would do facial recognition, pull up their LinkedIn profile to let you know, hey, here's who they are. And more importantly, if it's someone you already have a relationship with, pull up their contact info from your CRM, because Jared will tell you, I suck with names. I will have this conversation with him 100 times. I will say, hey, remember when we talked to Bob? Who's Bob? Oh, we talked about Bob. We were at ChannelCon. We talked to him about this. He's like, you mean Wendy? Sure, why not? Being able to walk up to someone, especially when you don't have all of that information in your head all the time that's in your CRM ideally, to be able to just have a display in your lens to be like, oh, hey, Bob, I remember I talked to you at ChannelCon last time. How are the kids? Like, that would be an amazing product.
Are you pulling a big brother here?
I'm not talking about from a privacy and security aspect. I'm talking about from a, hey, this would be really cool to have.
What if we had like a thing that popped up and showed like a score, like a lead score, maybe like a social score, so you could walk up to Bob and
exactly.
be like, hey, Bob, you've got negative.
I didn't go down that path. You went down that path.
This segment brought to you by Microsoft Copilot, your everyday AI companion.
I think we have some amount of points that I'm going...
2,400 points.
2,400 points. Before you go and tell us how many of those you want to wager on the mystery lunchbox question, which spots you might be shooting for here?
Let's go class clown.
And then how many points are you wagering?
I'll wager it all. You gotta wager it all.
All right. Since you're representing Maryland at the Cool Kids table, this state belongs to what geographic region that includes Delaware and parts of Virginia?
Oof. I would say DMV.
Matt?
I have no idea. I mean, anything that I think of Atlantic coast type stuff, mid-Atlantic, whatever, I think parts of Virginia makes it strange. So there's got to be something unique, maybe something really historic going back to like founding fathers type days.
And that's kind of where I'm stuck, is like mid-Atlantic would encompass more. DMV really is like the metro area of DC, Maryland, Virginia. So it shouldn't be Delaware, but yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. The answer is the Delmarva Peninsula.
Okay. No one really uses Delmarva anywhere.
We do. Congratulations. You survived the lunchroom chaos. You've earned your seat at the Cool Kids table. Where can our viewers find you?
BlacksmithInfoSec.com. And if you have any questions about compliance security that you want to answer on our podcast, it's blacksmithinfosec.com/ask. Hit us up. We do weekly podcasts and would love to answer any questions you guys have.